Donald Trump takes a late-night call from Volodymyr Zelenskyy. What seems like a simple diplomatic conversation turns into a turning point that ripples across Washington. Zelenskyy, worn down but fierce, pushes for a straight answer on whether the United States will stand firm in its support against Russian advances. His voice carries urgency, reflecting the pressure of a war-torn nation counting on American strength. Trump, who has always built his reputation on appearing bold and unshaken, suddenly finds himself silent. Instead of his usual quick retorts and dominant tone, there is hesitation, long pauses, and a sense of freezing under the weight of the question. That silence becomes louder than any words he could have spoken. It leaks quickly, first as whispers in Washington, then as headlines flashing across news outlets. Reporters describe Trump's response as uncertain, fragile, and hesitant at a moment when clarity was needed most. For Zelenskyy, the call confirms his deepest fear. America's former leader may not be the reliable ally he once promised to be. The silence is not just an awkward moment between two men. It is a signal to allies, adversaries, and the American people that Trump might falter in a crisis. Social media erupts. Critics seize the chance to paint him as unprepared, and even supporters struggle to spin the story. For the first time in a long time, Trump does not look like the fighter in control of the narrative. Zelenskyy, however, refuses to let this moment pass quietly. The second episode rises with the sound of Zelenskyy addressing a crowd in Kyiv, his words echoing across the world. Instead of quietly accepting Trump's frozen silence, Zelenskyy decides to strike back with power, not from weapons, but from his voice. He delivers a bold and direct speech that stuns both allies and opponents. He declares that Ukraine does not need leaders who hesitate when freedom is at stake, and he makes it clear that weakness from the United States endangers not only Ukraine, but all of Europe and the values America has long claimed to protect. His tone is not that of a desperate leader begging for help, but of a defiant man exposing hesitation at the heart of American politics. International media pick it up instantly. Networks broadcast Zelenskyy's fiery words and highlight how he has called out Trump without even saying his name. Across NATO capitals, the reaction is swift. Leaders begin questioning whether the United States under Trump could be trusted in a time of war. In America, the speech becomes a political earthquake. Trump's rivals replay Zelenskyy's statements over and over, framing them as proof that Trump's hesitation has left allies doubting America's leadership. The power dynamic has shifted. Zelenskyy, a wartime president fighting for survival, is portrayed as strong, direct, and unflinching, while Trump, the man who built his image on being tough, is shown as frozen in the face of a challenge. What began as a single phone call has exploded into an international scandal, and Zelenskyy has turned Trump's silence into his own weapon. Zelenskyy's fiery counterattack begins to spread far beyond Kyiv. NATO leaders gather in private meetings, where whispers about Trump's hesitation on that call grow louder. In Brussels, in Berlin, in Paris, the same question is repeated: can America still be trusted if its leader freezes when faced with a direct appeal? European allies have long relied on Washington's resolve, but this moment feels different. Trump's hesitation is seen not as strategy but as weakness, and the doubts creep into every discussion about security and defense. Back in the United States, the political storm grows by the hour. Trump's critics on Capitol Hill waste no time seizing the moment, blasting him for failing to give Zelenskyy clarity when it mattered most. They accuse him of damaging America's credibility, and some even begin comparing the moment to historical blunders that weakened us standing in the world. Conservative talk shows scramble to defend him, but even among his base, unease settles. In the idea that Trump could be cornered by a foreign leader challenges the very brand he has built around strength. As his allies in Congress are pushed to answer for him, the pressure begins to mount. Political rivals smell blood, international leaders question his reliability, and the image of Trump as the man who never backs down begins to crack. For Zelenskyy, this is a victory in itself. By forcing Trump's hesitation into the spotlight, he has shifted the global conversation. The episode shows a man once considered a political outsider in Kyiv, now able to corner one of the most powerful figures in American politics. Episode 4 erupts with the release of a leaked video that shocks the world. The footage shows a private summit where Zelenskyy, visibly angry, confronts Trump face to face, his words cut sharply, demanding accountability and pressing for commitment. Trump, for once, does not meet fire with fire. Instead, he sits frozen, eyes darting, his usual bravado gone. For a man who thrives on commanding the stage, The image is devastating. Within hours, the clip floods social media platforms. It spreads across Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, drawing millions of views in a single night. Hashtags trend worldwide, memes explode, and late-night shows mock Trump's silence with ruthless precision. More than just entertainment, the video becomes a symbol. Commentators describe it as a turning point, a visual confirmation that Trump could be confronted and left speechless by a foreign leader. American news networks run the footage in endless loops, dissecting every frame, every pause, every flicker of expression on Trump's face. His supporters argue the clip is edited or misleading, but the damage is already done. The world has seen a rare moment where Trump's confidence collapsed under pressure, and no spin seems strong enough to erase it. Zelenskyy, on the other hand, gains stature from the video. He is portrayed as fearless, as a leader who will not be silenced even by one of the most controversial figures in global politics. For Ukraine, the confrontation is more than just the proof that they have a voice powerful enough to challenge even Washington. For Trump, the viral showdown becomes a nightmare that reshapes public perception. The man who always promised strength is suddenly remembered for his silence, and silence in politics can be deadly. Washington fully engulfed in the storm that Zelensky's strikeback has unleashed. The leaked video has done more than embarrass Trump. It has opened the floodgates to a tidal wave of political consequences. Congress wastes no time calling hearings, demanding explanations for Trump's frozen silence during such a critical moment. Lawmakers who once stood firmly behind him begin to distance themselves, worried that the image of weakness could stain them by association. Journalists crowd outside the Capitol, hungry for every new angle, while media outlets run fiery panel discussions dissecting Trump's hesitation. Across the country, voters tune in with divided emotions. Some shake their heads in disappointment, feeling betrayed that a man who branded himself as a fighter faltered when the world was watching. Others double down in defense, claiming Zelensky's confrontation was staged to make Trump look weak. The split deepens an already fractured political climate, but the overall narrative tilts against Trump. His rival sees the opportunity, blasting him as unreliable and unfit for the global stage. Meanwhile, Zelenskyy emerges stronger than ever. His refusal to be silenced has elevated him from a wartime president struggling for survival to an international symbol of resilience. His words echo through European capitals, where leaders praise his courage. And in America, many see him as the embodiment of what true leadership looks like in a moment of crisis. The contrast between him and Trump is impossible to ignore. One man spoke with fire even while under siege, the other sat frozen despite leading a superpower. For ordinary Americans watching at home, the imagery is striking. The nation that once prided itself on leading the free world suddenly appears to be lagging behind a smaller, embattled ally. The fallout ripples into the presidential race, where Trump's opponents hammer the story at every rally, turning Zelenskyy's defiance into a weapon against him. Behind closed doors, Trump fumes at the coverage. Advisors scramble to control the damage, urging him to reclaim the narrative with bold speeches and strong promises. But the viral image of his silence proves impossible to erase. Every attempt he makes to project strengths is met with mockery. Every claim of toughness is countered by the simple replay of Zelenskyy's fiery confrontation. Allies grow restless, donors whisper doubts, and the aura of invincibility that once surrounded Trump begins to crumble. Even international adversaries take note, interpreting the moment as a sign of vulnerability within American politics. As the episode closes, the sense of a shifting power dynamic is undeniable. Washington is forced to reckon with the fact that Zelenskyy, once dismissed by many as a dependent ally, has managed to expose a deep weakness in one of the most polarizing figures in American history. Trump, who once thrived on controlling the stage, now finds himself defined by a single moment of hesitation. Zelenskyy, who entered the confrontation fighting for survival, walks away as a symbol of fearless leadership. The clash reshapes not just their reputations, but the very question of who truly holds the mantle of strength in a world filled with uncertainty.